Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another journal with me process in my Artist in Bloom journal. Again, I am using this journal for the Get Messy season of bloom. I still think it's like fitting for the season. So yeah, this is a process and I mean it when I say process. I started off with this spread here that I am putting just some white gesso on because my intention was to do some watercoloring, and the paper that I have in this journal is not watercolor paper. I don't think I have any watercolor paper in this journal. It's just a mixture of handmade papers, vintage papers, and those are a bit more fragile than watercolor paper. And so I just put a little bit of gesso hoping that the watercolor can stay on it, and it supported it very well. I just suck at watercolor, I guess. So I started just painting florals that I didn't like. I don't know, I think I needed to use more water and I didn't, so everything came out sort of heavily pigmented. And yeah, this entire process, you'll see me just kind of plopping down colors and none of it stays. Like, all of it goes. I don't keep any of it. I am using a mixture, I think a mixture of watercolors. I made this palette, so this is in a Jane Davenport aqua pastel tin, and I took the aqua pastels out, put them in like a jar, and I kind of put all my favorite watercolor pans in here. A lot of it is from the Jane Davenport sets or the Prima marketing sets. I do have 3 colors, which I think are the colors that I mostly used on this. I used 2 of them that are handmade watercolors by Rachel Beth, I believe is her name. And then I do have some gouache. I have some gouache in here. I have some Arteza gouache, so like all the pans that are like really crinkly, that's all Arteza gouache. And yeah, just a mixture of things. Anyway, you'll see here that this is where I kind of gave up on the florals. I was trying to outline them in charcoal pencil, and that also just didn't work. It looked ugly. I did not like it. And so I tried covering it up with some gesso. That was like and so, hey, I went and got my trusty paper, because you know what? Paper will cover all sorts of paper. That's one thing I love about paper, is that it's so forgiving. You can cover it up, you can put more paper on top of it and cover things up. It's awesome. So I covered up most of the florals there with some old book paper and some sheet music. And now I'm going over the other side that I did like a little wash with. I'm going over it with some white gesso. And I do go over the vintage papers with a little bit of gesso just so that it blends better into the background. I did wanted to save that floral there, but it ends up just getting covered because nothing works with it. And I don't actually I do end up using that color again, but yeah, so I just cover, again, gesso over it, and then I end up using a piece of paper over that as well. And I kind of just do a collage-y sort of thing on this page here, where I put down paper and then I kind of go over it with a little bit of white gesso just to blend everything in. But that's what ends up happening on that side. And so I think, yes, I go back in with the watercolors here. I'm just mixing up some colors and trying to mix up like a really pale pink. Again, I was trying to do the loose floral. That obviously did not work. And so I just kind of continued on doing what I do best, plopping down watercolor colors, but very like watery, and like just getting a whole pool of it on my page. Didn't go as I wanted to, so I ended up just blowing at it, and that is just a fun kind of abstract-y kind of technique that you can do with watercolors, or even like really watered down acrylics. You can do it as well. Just blob it and then blow, and everything will go everywhere, and you just work with what you got. And so that is the approach I decided to take with this, because it just wasn't coming out how I wanted it to come out. and I added a little bit of watercolor to the other page just to get some of that pink in. Of course, I diluted, I kind of whited it out a little bit I dabbed it and then added some gesso. Again, I like everything to blend. The paper that I used had like this gray line on it, and I didn't like that, so I'm taking a little sentiment that I cut out from, I think I cut this out from a Daphne's diary, and it said something about wandering. It's not wandering, or you're not wandering, you're just discovering new paths or something like that. And I really liked that sentiment, and so I kind of glued it there. And now I'm just kind of looking for stuff to add to the pages. I pulled out a lot of things that I thought I would use, and I didn't actually end up using them at all. But yeah, I pretty much work on the right-hand side first because my paint was still drying, and I don't have like a heat tool or anything, so I just kind of let everything dry naturally and then get to it when I get to it. So I'm working on the right side, and I have some scrap pieces of paper. One is wallpaper. Actually, they're both wallpaper pieces, and I just used my pinking shears to make little scallop borders around them, and I kind of glued them there, sort of like swatches. They kind of look like swatches. And yeah, that is that page. I do end up going in and adding some more gesso just to blend everything in better, especially along the edges. And then I do put some grid paper that I distress with my scissors there just to write a little something. I wrote something in regards to the little quote that I cut out of the Daphne's diary, and that's my little journaling on this page. But my watercolor page is basically dry, and you see that I actually pulled out that bird. It's like a bird silhouette thing, but it has like this floral pattern on it. That was also cut out from my Daphne's diary. I don't actually end up using that. I thought I was, and I had every intention to put it there just to match in with the pink. But instead of doing that, I decided to go and get my Liquitex ink in the titanium white, which is my favorite color, and just splatter a bunch of white ink splats there. I do soften up that pink with a little bit of gesso, and then I go to town. I add more splatters, just so much splatters. So much so that I didn't want to use the bird anymore because it didn't look right once like everything dried. It was just like a big mess on that side, and so I needed to figure out a way to, I guess, not so much cover it up because I still wanted it to show, but to kind of place something there that would look okay and not like I just made a hot mess on my page, if that makes any sense. I was trying to tuck that little half doily behind the bird, but it didn't work. Eventually I pulled out this ginormous die cut from Lace and Whimsy, and I'm like, I love that there, but the butterfly is just too big. It's too big, it doesn't fit. And so I'm just like, hey, you know what? She uses this butterfly and a bunch of stickers. I'm pretty sure I can find a smaller version of that same butterfly. And I do. I find it in sticker form, and I find 2 different sizes of it. And so of course I used it. Sort of like the butterflies are kind of fluttering off of that ginormous mess on the page. I used some of her star stickers. I ended up going with the little purple ones just to make like the little trail about the butterflies. And then I pull out my Soul Saying stickers, I believe. Yes, I pull out a few of the Soul Saying stickers. These are in, well, the physical are not in my shop, the digital are in my shop. And I just kind of make up a little sentiment, something about spreading your wings, dreaming big, something like that. I don't actually remember what it says, but it's some sentiment that I created with my sentiments. Added another star sticker from Lace and Whimsy. And yeah, that's basically the spread. I just go in and write up my little journaling, and I don't think I add anything else. That's about it. So I really hope you enjoyed this process. It was definitely a process, and thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy all of these process videos. Haven't journaled in a while, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. Bye!